The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple, and welcome to today's Nadex broadcast on market updates, looking at current market analysis and identifying potential opportunities. Pretty excited. One thing I want to mix up today a little bit, guys, for you is now, and I'm sure you have all seen it at this point, we got a whole lot of new things that we can trade with Nadex. And I know I mentioned it last week, but now we have another week under our belt, and we're able to kind of take a more in-depth look into the new offerings that Nadex providing, particularly in the knockouts. You guys know that I was slow to adopt and then jumped on the bandwagon, and I absolutely love them now. And we have a lot more of them to look at. So I want to make sure today, I'm going to do my best today, whenever we look at a chart, to see what we have knockout-wise. So that's kind of my pledge to you guys today. If you guys can promise on the other side, make sure when you're doing your analysis on your charts, make sure you're doing the same thing, looking over at those, those knockout brackets. It's easy to forget that they were there, but we fought hard to get them. Now that we have them, let's make sure that we are using them. So it is September 29th. I can't believe that September is already gone. It's crazy. I have almost 1 month down of my son's virtual schooling. Not as bad as the spring, but it's still one of those things I got to keep an eye on them at all times. So it's been a little bit harder to look at things. Again, that September we're settling in, and again, we have some craziness coming up in the next few months with major events. Is what it is. What are you going to do? All right, so let's dive in. I can't believe that we're really already talking about the end of the month. For those of you that are new, welcome. Now, you may say, who is this guy? Why is he talking to me? Why is he so excited? Does he slow down when he talks? I get very passionate about the markets. I love doing these presentations. My goal every week is to be some type of golden nugget, or there some additional way to tweak your strategy, some type of market psychology, maybe even a setup. And again, that's what I'm looking for, is for you guys to take something away from this every single week. And again, we have a lot of regulars that are here every week, and I get emails and feedback from them all the time about new things that they found. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the president and CEO of Keep Trading Simple. My style of trading is a little bit different. I try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm a big believer in the KISS mentality, to keep it simple. Silly, right? There's some other things you can put in there, but keeping it simple is what I like to do. I have a style that I guess I'd be classified as a price action trader. I focus on candle formation, really, using Japanese candlesticks, not looking at patterns, not looking at, the bearish haramis and all those kinds of things. I'm looking at the actual kind of the buys, the sells, the opens, close, highs, and lows. And I'm primarily not really a support and resistance trader, but a supply and demand trader. There are slight differences. I've created a number of different strategies. Again, a lot of them can be used for Nadex. 30-minute trader, 5-minute binary courses for people with full-time jobs. I released a high volatility trading this year with COVID. I have a parabolic retracement course, which is meant to match up with news trading. All these things pair great with Nadex, so that's why I love doing these presentations. Again, it matches up ideal with kind of my risk tolerance and the way that I look at charts. I don't know if you guys are watching or not. I have on one of my other screens, I have oil, and it's literally just dropping through the floor right now. I'm like, I keep looking at it like, man, it's going lower, 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 and lower. I'm like dying to go over there and do the analysis on it. I did work in an advisory bank for in the advisory division for one of the big 3 banks. So I did start, like many people on today's broadcast, I was a real-time trader. I started actually during the tech bubble back in the late 90s, early 2000s is when I started. Learned traditional options, stocks, found currencies, fell in love with that, learned how to trade futures, became an advisor, learned about bonds, because again, bonds is something you don't really talk about on the outside. Realized that my passion was helping people, and again, that's why I do what I do, okay? I do stay quite busy, though. So you can see I'm chasing the little one around all day. She's with Dad. Typically, she's helping me do charts. I don't put her in there today, so you guys won't hear, but for my regulars that attend the schools every day, you will hear her talking and watching her soaps. But she trades with me now, so it's pretty fun. All right, so let's dive into a risk disclaimer real fast before we dive into those charts, because like I said, I am itching to get over there. Oil is just, it's getting hammered right now. As far as the Nadex risk disclaimer goes, though, trading on Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors. Trading can be volatile, and investors risk losing the cost at the end of the transaction, including fees. The information presented within this presentation is for informational and education purposes only, and should not be considered an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results, and Nadex contracts are based on underlying asset classes, including Forex, stock index futures, and commodity futures. Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. So here's our agenda for the today. First thing, we're going to cover the upcoming news events. Now, you guys know I love my specific news sites. I love the scanners on them. This is a big week. This is a big week news-wise. Why? Well, it's the end of September. This Friday is a non-farm payroll day. So again, those are always pretty crazy weeks. And again, you need to be a little bit more cautious when we have weeks like that. Then we're going to dive into indices. Now, the indices are all kind of set up in pretty interesting positions right now. And again, some trades have already triggered, some are about to trigger. So we will look in and break those down. Then we'll dive into Forex. There's a couple different trades that are currently on right now that actually with my group I set up yesterday, but a couple areas that are getting pretty close. For those of you guys that are, I don't know, I guess for the people that are new, I'm just going to tell you what this is right now. There is a trade setup that I mentioned, and it's something that I don't have a class on. It's something that I've basically shared all the kind of rules and everything during these Nadex presentations, called the Harry Potter trade. There was a great one that happened last night, so we'll have a great learning piece today inside today's broadcast using the Aussie yen. And then we'll dive into commodities. Like I said, I'm itching to get over there. I'm not the biggest commodities trader in the world. There's definitely people that trade more commodities than me, but whenever I see a move like this in oil, like you can't help just being a market technician looking at this and being like, oh my God, I want to get over there. I want to analyze it, right? I mean, it's down to 38.50, right? It's down almost $2 on the day. So, I mean, it's getting hammered right now, all right? So with that, let's go over and I'm going to pull our little website in, right? So I use Forex Factory. There are many different other programs out there or websites that you can use. I like this one because it kind of gets everything right here. You guys will see later, I actually have TradingView up. DailyFX is another one that I use as well. First thing, I love the scanner at the top. I think the scanners are a great function. I use multiple different scanners, but it really helps you figure out what's moving right now, what's important to look at, because there is so much stuff out there to look at. I do think that Nadex does an excellent job providing numerous different assets for us to trade, right? One of the hardest things for new traders, though, is figuring out, okay, what should I be looking at and what should I kind of avoid looking at, right? And that's where people get into some trouble. It's like I'm looking at this and 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 I'm looking at this, and you get what I'm saying. It's just too much, and people get into a little bit of problems with that because there's just too much for them to really focus on. Let me put this over here. Moving some windows around here. All right. So right now in the currency realm, and again, we're going to cover indices first, but I want to make sure we cover kind of where we're at, the news today, and the big news we need to watch out for. In the currency realm, there's really not tons moving. I would say about the only thing right now would be the euro. Okay, and if you're looking at kind of what some of the top news is, you're seeing, basically a lot of Brexit talk, right? Talking back and forth. You're seeing the BOE over here. Again, if you guys aren't familiar with the Brexit situation, Johnson has thrown a deadline in of October 15th that everything needs to be decided or we're out. Now, I don't fully agree with, not exactly sure why he's so insistent upon October 15th. The official withdrawal is not until December. So it's not like they can't get something done in a week if they really needed to. And I get not wanting to wait until the absolute last minute. But again, October 15th is pretty, that's a lot of time, and again, that's why we're seeing a lot of movement. The pound yesterday was on fire. Today it's slowed down. The euro is moving a little bit, but 56 pips in the euro dollar is a pretty nice moving day, right? Pound dollar, more or less flat. Dollar yen flat. Dollar Swiss, 27 is not bad. And a lot of that is retracing in the last 60 minutes. Dollar CAD up 35 is not bad. Aussie dollar 40. Euro pound, again, this is a nice mover. 53 pips here, and then 5 pips in pound yen is nothing. Reason I'm showing you this, and again, I get this question a lot. Listen, I don't care about this. I only care about the indices. Great. If you're only focusing on one thing, that's wonderful. Maybe you can become a specialist, but you're missing a lot of opportunity. Okay. If you guys have heard me talk, and I get asked this question a lot, okay, everyone's always asking me like, oh, what's my favorite setups to trade over at Nadex? I love trading the mornings with 2-hour binaries in Nadex. Why is this important, this 24-hour pip change, right? This move. I mean, again, I could shrink this, but knowing how much things are moving in a specific time frame, right? How volatile they are. I know the strike differentials of all these different pairs, right? When you get into the euro dollar, it doesn't need to move 56 in a 2-hour time period, right? If it moves 10 pips, I'm moving a couple strike prices, right? That's why I absolutely love looking at this, because it tells me what's moving now, what is providing the most potential for opportunity. And then what do? I pair it down to the 2 hours in the morning and take advantage of that, All right. Now, news has been obviously great, right? We've seen a lot of stuff in the last hour, 2 hours. Well, here's why. That consumer confidence number, all right? Consumer confidence is always one of those things that it trickles into other things. What do I mean by that? Think about it. If you are confident in our economy, you're confident in your job, you're confident in your cash flow, you're confident in paying your bills, are you a bit more confident or comfortable purchasing new things? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. If you are really concerned about getting fired, are you probably going out there and, you know, are you probably going out there and buying a new car? Probably not, right? So again, seeing a consumer confidence number, it was expected to be higher, right? It was expected to be 90 versus 86 before. It came at 101. That's a big jump, right? So again, the overall market is a little bit swayed in kind of what the consumer feels like they are, or what, how, I guess, how secure the consumer feels right now. So that's a great number. Tonight, we actually have some Chinese data. Now, Chinese data is great for a number of different reasons. Okay, again, we still have a little bit of a trade war, but at nighttime, there's not many people trading, and it sets us up pretty well, particularly in the kind of, again, in the currency realm. I know you guys have seen this a few times and heard it in some presentations here for Nadex, but there are certain kind of proxy pairs, right? Like we all know oil, well, that trades with the dollar, right? I'm sorry, with the CAD, right? And right now you can see like the CAD yen is collapsing with oil, right? Well, Chinese data affects the Australian and the New Zealand currency pairs a lot. Why? Because again, they need to import natural resources. They get them from those two countries. So when there's bad Chinese data, it tends to hurt the Aussie dollar, which also affects gold. Okay, so again, there's a little spillover effect in multiple indices or multiple different assets, right? So that's all we really have for today. And then tomorrow, you can see that tomorrow is a pretty interesting day. A lot of kind of orange middle range news. Again, we have some Swiss data, right, which is always important. ECB president is speaking tomorrow at the open. That will probably give us an early morning trend. So for some of you that are overseas or West Coasters, whenever you see a speech at the European Open, that will typically dictate the trend for tomorrow morning. Okay, when I say tomorrow morning, I mean from basically the European Open at like 3 a.m. Eastern time up until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We should have one trend based off of what he says. 8:15, we start kicking in with the ADP non-farm payroll, or the unemployment change. Again, that's always a big one. It's expected to be positive, and in addition of 650,000 jobs. That's big. Then again, 8:30, and again, this is bam, 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 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 10. GDP numbers. Now, final GDP is not that big of a deal. Obviously, the month-over-month GDP for the CAD is kind of an important number for those of you that do know how to trade the dollar CAD. Now, I will say, and again, in all fair balance, I don't like a lot of the pricing that I see, but it doesn't mean that you can't make trades with Nadex using dollar CAD. I feel that the spreads are a little bit wide for that one based off of what the volatility is. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no setups there. It just means that I need to be a bit more cautious. And if you're trading it, watch those strike differentials versus some of the other currency pairs, okay? Again, Chicago PMI is good. Pending home sales really doesn't affect us whatsoever. Maybe the indices a little bit, but honestly, with GDP, PMI, and non-farm employment change, nobody cares about people selling their houses. That's not necessarily like a really big market mover for tomorrow, okay? Thursday, October 1st, okay? There is a couple big numbers. Obviously, personal spending, that's important. It's supposed to be lower than it was previously. The unemployment claims. Now, this unemployment claim number has been tricky. They've been missing, right? They've been a little bit too positive, right? They keep saying, yeah, it's going to be here, and they keep missing. We keep getting more unemployment claims than we've seen. Now, I do feel like this will level out. As I mentioned last week and the week before, data from early in September is a little bit hard to grasp, right? Because, you don't know how many kids are going to be staying home doing virtual schooling. Are schools going to be shut down? How many parents thought that their kids are going to be able to handle being home alone and were going to continue to try to work, but it just didn't work out. And like a week later, they had to kind of stop and stay home with their kids. So these numbers, I think, have been very, very hard to forecast and predict. And you see that we've missed them many weeks in a row, which again gives that negative kind of feeling, negative intonation in the markets. Okay, so got to watch out for that one. Also, again, you have oil in here as well. Oil, I believe, is this week. They must have bumped oil back down again. Let's see. Wednesday, U.S. 10:30. Yeah, right here. Okay, they bumped it back down to the yellow, but 10:30 on. We have crude oil inventories, and again, crude oil is getting hammered right now. So that's one we're going to watch out for on Wednesday. Almost forgot that one. Let's bring this back. And then we jump into, I'm sorry, on Thursday, this ISM manufacturing PMI is also an important number. Anytime you see PMI with the Purchasing Managers Index, it is a gauge of inflation, okay? The prices of goods and services, particularly manufacturing. Now, this ISM manufacturing number tends to affect the Dow more than the S&P and the NQ, but again, it can affect the overall markets. The other reason why we're watching it is because, again, this is an area where we'll start to see as you start to see inflation creep into this number first, right? And again, we haven't seen inflation. That's why gold is not at like 8 million and silver's not at 50, because we haven't really seen inflation necessarily creep in. But this is where we'll start to see it. And again, CAD as well as the dollar. Now, Friday, this is the big boy, right? The non-farm employment change and again, the unemployment rates and the hourly earnings not as big, but this non-farm number is big. Again, it's expected to be 900. So yeah, Friday's going to be a biggie. Again, it's always crazy when we get non-farm stepping into things. Now, next week, remember, we'll meet on Tuesday, but next Monday, there's actually a decent amount of data too, the non-manufacturing PMI. And then late at night, we have a lot of Aussie trade data and rate statement on the Aussie. So in the next 7 days, there are quite a few really great news trading setups as far as news releases go. Again, these are some of the higher quality ones. The reason why I'm excited about it as well, as you guys know, or if you don't, I love news trading. I think news trading is great. I pair news trading with the same way that I trade anyway. But why I love it is news trading provides a catalyst. It makes things move faster. Not that it would have went there already, but it happens faster. And that's why I love it, because it pairs perfectly with the limited risk of your entries, with Nadex. That's why I absolutely love it, right? You can get some really explosive movements. You pair it correctly with the right the Nadex, the right time frame, the right duration. Again, some of these small ones are absolutely amazing. I don't know how many people out here trade the 20-minute binaries, but I would say that personally, the 2 hours are my favorite. But again, now that we have knockouts for pretty much everything, I'm quickly, I'm double checking to make sure that there's not a knockout in a specified area as well, because at least that gives me a bit more room to run, and it's more price central, right? So lots of stuff there. All right, with that said, let's dive over and jump into charts. All right, so first things first, I got alerts popping up all over the place. CAD yen, God, oil is still dropping. Oil's down to 38.40. So yeah, it's down over $2 for the day. Man, it is getting hammered. It's down 5.25%. I don't know if you guys can see this. Look at this. This is what I have on my other monitor. Whoops, I have multiple monitors going. This is what's on the other monitor. I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh God. Whoops, I shrunk that. There we go. Yeah, I'm watching it and it's just going and going and going. So yeah. Anyway, NQ. So NQ, we got a little bit of a Harry Potter trade set up. Now this one has been kind of pushing a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Now, as you can see, if we look to the left from this area, and again, there was a little bounce here or push back down again, impulse, correction, and then this is where it starts to kind of falter. And it's hitting an area here where price has been here and was sold and then rallied back up and sold again. So it's a legitimate selling area. Is it the best place for entry? Not really in my eyes. I mean, I didn't have a short in there. I didn't find it, here, I'll mark it off so you guys can see it, right? Kind of in this level here. When we go back and you can see, I mean, price got turned around here and turned around here, but is it the best of levels? I mean, it would be easy to say, oh, we should have definitely sold it there because of, and be like, oh, look at that. But in reality, we want to create the highest probability trades that we can get, right? One of the things about trading that a lot of people don't realize is one of the hardest things that nobody ever tells you in trading that you need is patience, okay? Patience. In this case, could we have, drawn a line there and said, hey, yep, we're short. We're the best. It's not the highest quality. It's not one that I would take in my own account, and it's not one that I'd really want to talk about as much because, again, yes, it did roll off. It had been there twice before, but the quality of it was not there. It didn't meet my standard. And again, if it doesn't meet my standard, I'm not going to share it with you guys as well. For me, I'm waiting for a level up here, approximately about 11,506. And I say approximately because this data that I'm using is ECN-based data. So it's slightly off of what Nadex's indicative values are, as well as what the futures market shows us, okay? So approximately there I'm looking for. Now, you do see we have our green line here. Again, this is a demand zone where we had buyers step in. It got punched. It would be more of a target. So, I mean, again, in this short pattern, we'd be looking for target here. Really kind of the next area I'm looking for bounces off of are down here in this yellow band right here, right? This band was an area where we had a nice rally up, a pullback and a bit of a gap, and then a pullback and it exploded off of it. Now, this is an area where if price can get down here, I'm actually expecting it to bounce at least one time off this zone. Will I be willing to take this long? Probably not. It depends what's happening at that time. But it's an area that I'm looking for and again, I don't know when, but when this area fails, and again, when I say when, I mean like, when we come down, we break again, give us a Harry Potter entry. I'm looking for a break of this level in here, kind of probably right here. Let me change the color of this, something that's, a little bit easier to see, right there. When I get a break of that level, I'm looking for a pullback and then a short entry. And again, I love the way that this one is priced at the downside. I think the risk up here to the reward, I think, is great. It's where it's supposed to be. But right now for the day, it's kind of like, most of the movement has happened in the overnight. We got a pullback. It was all right. It just wasn't the ideal situation. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a bounce. Like I said, if we get a bounce down to here, and then we bounce off of this thing, this zone will eventually fail. And again, I'm looking for most likely that again. Anything else, 12:20 in the afternoon after you've already had a morning session is a little bit rough. One thing I could see happening for later today, and again, depending on when we hit the zone, if we hit the zone here, we could have an end of the day rally off of that area as well. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys followed. I have a bunch of my students that love these end of the day rallies. But again, if we push this down into this level here, this could provide an end of the day rally up. But overall, I'm looking for this one to take it short back from kind of this level here. I don't think it'll hit today. Will it hit tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a zone that I definitely want to watch out for. As well as I have alerts up here at 11,506. I think that's a great zone. You can see it's pretty high up there, and it had a great response off of it. So if we get any type of rallying back, and this is a possible scenario. Whoops. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. That is on another program here. All right. There we go. I don't actually know how to mute that. I don't. Hopefully, you guys didn't hear that. It was just a follow on one of the other programs. But anyway, if price bumps back up to that 11,506, it's definitely an area that I'd be interested in getting short from. And again, the way that this is setting up for the week, if we get a rally back up to that level, and again, we know that we have non-farm data coming in tomorrow as well as Friday. This is one of those levels that is, if price is ready to rally up to that area, that gives us an absolutely amazing entry for short, right? Again, market rallies up, we miss, and then boom, it gets hammered back down again, right? It fights its way all the way up. Bad news comes in and gets, again, just completely gets hammered back to the downside at 11,506. So again, love that. Think that's great. Would be all over that. Okay, there's NQ. S&P, again, this one came off a short this morning. This one actually did have a decent setup. While the NQ didn't really get to any of the zones that we were looking for, we needed to go just a bit farther to get to that clean level. The S&P did hit the clean level, and it just got out. It just ended up hitting its 1 to 3 risk to reward profit target. Again, kind of the same scenario. Again, we had a basing level. It was tested. This was hit number 3. So I would be a bit cautious with this level for a third hit. Right now, I do think it will continue to come down. Biggest question is, how far can we go today? We are higher in the curve, so I am a bit more bearish bias, but I am looking for this one level here as kind of as a potential, like, I would say, target, I guess would be the best word for it. Again, there is, it is an area where we could have a bounce off of it. I don't know if you guys can see it here, where, we had a pullback and then we punched forward and we retested it. So it's a level that, like I said, I don't know if it was 10 o'clock in the morning. Yes, it would be a level I'd be looking to take a long off of. Right now, with, all the morning activities and just kind of the push down, it's not as much of a, I'm not as interested in taking it for a long. I do think that the long down here at 32.98 is a better one. But one thing that I am looking for, and again, remember when I mentioned this, this area here is kind of what I'm considering the top and bottom of a sideways channel. Okay. So with that said, in this area here, I am really looking for sells. In this area here, I am looking more for buys. So being up here, it's kind of like, do I want to buy from here? Not really, right? And this is kind of in that middle area. One potential opportunity that I see in this, okay, let's get this off. One potential opportunity that I see in this, and again, you can see we're out of this one, so I guess I don't necessarily need this now, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. One thing that I am looking for is this. You guys see this big box here? This was a lot of movement in a very short period of time. Okay, for the market to do this, it is typically a very big kind of emotional greed response, right? I am looking also for a short in this level here, and I do think that there is a decent one coming there. And again, probably even lower than that. 4-hour wise, can't really see it, but probably even farther than that from here, right? If we get a break of this level, and again, it's kind of the same idea. I'm looking for a break of this level, and again, this is not a today train. If this thing moves as much in one day, then we got our own problems. But something along those lines, right? And again, that kind of confirmation of the break. Now, oh God, I can't get that on there. There you go. Worst case, what does this do? It comes and it bounces off this level. No harm, no foul. It didn't get into the trade. Don't have to worry about it, right? But what I'm looking for it to do is I'm looking for it to break that zone, give me some space, pull back up, and then I'm looking to take a short. Now, this is a 1 to 3. This is a 1 to 5. I think that this one actually can probably come down into here. So it's kind of a 1 to 6 risk to reward ratio. If you guys are good with your money management, you guys will understand what that means. As we get closer to that, there's a couple ways we could play this. Depending on the time we get close to it, again, jump into those 2-hour binaries, but we also have the knockouts. And again, we're a little bit far for this right now to start looking at knockout brackets, but there will be probably some knockout positions here to the downside. And again, this could run for a day or 2 days all the way back down into this 32.20 level, okay? Especially with the non-farm data and everything else we have, okay? Especially with those kinds of things. So we do have this little level here, again, target. I'm really starting to get interested in it when we get back down to the 33 range, okay? Now the Dow is also at a level right now where, again, we had some basing, we had a pullback. It may springboard off this and no problem, no harm, no foul, but kind of the same idea for this one. I'm looking for a very similar push down. I'm looking for a pullback to that zone, and then I'm looking for entry, and I'm looking for a push down to this level. Now, here's the key on this one. This one, you have to be just a little bit cautious. Just keep it out there. Here's this zone, and actually this zone should be right there, okay? You can see that the 1 to 3 risk to reward target is just above a gap. Okay, so don't get greedy with this one. Okay, this is one of those things where you get greedy and you're like, oh, I just wanted to go to right here. And it hits this level and goes all the way back up again. So be cautious of those type of things. Again, we are pretty close. Let me see, actually. Let me jump over here to, let me see what we got here. This is Dow. Let's see. I'm just curious to see where the knockouts actually are. It's about 27. We do have a 27,340, which is approximately in, and again, this is going to be off slightly because remember, mine are right now. Right now, I'm showing that the price is at 27,394. Right now, Nadex is showing a 269. So again, you got to look at it on your charts, but really a break of this zone. So yeah, we are pretty close. There's a kind of limited risk in this one right now. Let me see actually if I can pull the chart real quick. I'm actually pulling this up on Nadex. Let's see, 15 minutes. Go back. Let's see. We're actually right now drawing. Is there a rectangle in here? No, not really. We're close. We're close. So yeah, so there's actually a knockout right now, guys. What I would recommend for you guys to do is go over there and look at this position. Find this on the Nadex chart or what you're using for your software. Because like I said, my numbers are going to be slightly off of what the indicative versus the actual is right now. This drop right here and this test, that's how you'll know. This test right here, look to see where we are. We actually do have a knockout position or a knockout bracket in very close proximity that could potentially be used if it matches your risk profile. So go ahead and check that one out. I know some of you, most of you are all using the new one, but it is knockout. What are we talking about? Knockout 12 on the old platform if you guys are using that one. So go find that one. It's the ceiling of 27,340. There's a potential entry in there looking on that one. And again, that could be something that we hold for a day or two. Going to non-farm tomorrow, it give us limited, limited risk on that one and a nice profit if that one continues to tank to the downside. And again, we have plenty of room here because it's coming down to the 26 mark. Yeah, that's a nice one. I do like that one. So again, if it meets your risk tolerance, it needs to move just a little bit more, and it's not bad, right? Nice little potential trade there. Jumping across over to the currencies. So currencies. Here is one that, again, it is now completed, but I wanted to leave this on here. Again, we talked about this zone last week with you guys. This is one of the Harry Potter trades, right? This was one of those Harry Potter trades. It was a zone that has been used as a top and a bottom, right? As a top, top here, came back through top, and then all of a sudden became the bottom again. It's an area of interest, right? It's terminology that I've been using for a while just to keep everybody on the same page. This is that pattern, right? I mentioned this pattern a lot of times, and it's a break of a break of the level, a pullback, and then a continuation to its target, right? I've drawn this, and I call it a Harry Potter because it's a lightning bolt that Harry has on his head, right? Here was it. It pulled up, pulled back, and then exploded. It did base a little bit, but it punched through. So I'm going to delete this just so everybody's not. Whoops, I want that purple one. Just so we can clean the chart up a little bit, right? Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Let's delete this, and let's delete this right now. And there we go. All right, so where we are now with this one, again, we have this same level. And what I'll do is I'm going to mark this level off. Actually, you know what? That green's there. I don't need to do that. So I like to clean these up and just kind of bring it back a bit, right? Because the analysis there was from last week. So right now, I would say, based off the hourly, right, I have something going on down here. I know this is a 4-hour zone because we've been talking about it for a while. The 69.90. We also have some really nice movement right here. You can see right here in this candle, this thing exploded down. So this is definitely a level I'll be looking out for as well. Whoops. I was trying to do this. I want to mark off that level right there. That's what I'm interested in right there. And then let's drop this down to a 30-minute. I can get kind of a better read on it. There we go. Yeah, it's in that zone. So for me right now, I am looking for sells at approximately 71.69. And again, for me, this is kind of the top of the range and the bottom of the range, right? It's a clean kind of level that's been partially tested, right? Again, the 1 to 3 is in a good place. We're kind of sitting in the middle. So 71.69 and 69.90 are kind of the two tops and bottoms that I'm focusing on. A lot of these small ones I'm not as interested in right now. I do want it to move top or down, or top or bottom, and I think we'll get, we'll probably get to one of those two tomorrow before non-farm, or the ADP number. So I think either of those two are good. Let me check out I promised I would do this for Forex, so let me see. We're still a little bit okay on time here. Let me see. We have. All right, cool. Again, here's your homework. Go look at the Aussie dollar knockout brackets. It would be number 2 for those of you on the old platform. On the new one, they don't have the numbers, but it's the one with the ceiling up at 71.84. I think that's a level that we need to look at. Depending on when we were up there for the ADP number, could be a potential short. Again, if we can get the price back up there. I don't have that control, but it's an if this, then that scenario. On the downside, we do have a 69.84. Okay, a 69.84 that comes in just below here. So there is actually a knockout sitting here and a knockout sitting kind of here, right? Sitting like here. Okay, so we do kind of have 2 knockouts set on this one for the ceiling and the floor. Okay, so keep those in your radar as well. I think both those could give us some great potential with a number like really the unemployment number, the ADP number, the Thursday number, or the non-farm number on Friday. All right. And again, if you're not accustomed to knockouts, make sure you trade them in demo first. So those aren't bad. Here's another one that we just ran into an hourly zone. And again, this was a failure to go higher. You guys know that pattern where we have a punch up, it pulls back, and then it doesn't go as high and gives us risk based off of the prior high. Couple things in this one. First things first, let's go back. You guys will recognize this little pattern right here. Okay. In this case, we had a punch up. We had the punch back down again. Oops. And what do we have? We had the punch forward. Okay. So again, Harry Potter, right? It was taking an old level, and you guys know this as well. Here's your one hit, here's your 2 hit, here's your 3 hit, and then it based, which is the telltale sign that, hey, listen, it's going to probably break. It's already in here. It's facing sideways. It punched up, it punched and went forward. So again, there's the exact, I should probably screenshot this and put this in a video because this is the ideal situation. 4 hits, basing in the level, punch through, pulled back, and then went to our 1 to 3 target. Now, this one exploded higher. And again, looking to the left, is there any clean levels here? And the answer is no. There's pullback, sure, but is there anything clean, like strong? No. This is the first one, right? What did price do? It came all the way up, tagged this thing, and collapsed right back to the downside. So at this point, you are out with your 1 to 3. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me bring this back a little bit. Again, you guys can see where it kicked in there, right? It hit here, and again, I could have used that level. There was your fail to go higher. I could have used either one of them. Here, I'll show you the failure to go higher setup on that one. Would have been this right there. Okay. Again, a high, a punch down, a pullback, did not break through the top, turned on us, and then left. There was your failure to go higher. Okay, so either one of it. There's 3 different ways you could take in this trade. Where it is right now, I do think it will pull back down again at this point. There was a big punch up, right? There was a big punch up forward. So I do think that, my feeling is I'm waiting for price to head down to this level. I do think that in looking at these candles, there will be some hiccups in here, but I would like to see this come down and be floating in the same level again for the ADP number tomorrow. Again, there is some Aussie data tonight. There's that Chinese data that could absolutely shoot this to the downside if that Chinese data is negative. Again, that would give us a nice potential setup for tomorrow morning. Knockout-wise on this one, let me see real quick where the knockouts are. It looks like this is sitting approximately around what? 74.60-ish range. Let's see, what's the bottom side? The bottom side of this is 74.55. So there is a floor of 74.34. A little bit far on that one. Again, we may have to see that kind of bounce and base down a little bit. So again, be a bit cautious with that one. Top side today, again, this is approximately around 75.34. There was a 75.84, so which would be up in way up here. So yeah, unfortunately, this one, the knockouts, it seemed like it was placed in the middle. It just didn't make as much sense today for this one on knockout wise. And again, it happens. Price will move a little bit from when the knockouts are printed, and then it sits in the middle and just kind of hovers back and forth. So not always ideal, but I will say in this 2-hour period from when this triggered was 30 pips. Okay, 30 pips worth of movement. Drop down and look over at the Aussie yen 2 hours. Right, look at the I guess the 11 to 1 during that time frame. You can see that the strike differential is 6, right? 6. So if the strike differential is 5, right? 5. If the strike differential is 5 and it moved 30 pips, it moved 6 strike prices down in that 2 hours from this entry. Okay, that's a nice little trade this morning. And again, if we were earlier in the morning, maybe a little bit more of a benefit. But again, nice setup on this one. You could have taken this with one of those 2-hour binaries in the Aussie yen. You could probably, there's probably, I would say, I don't know, maybe B plus ranking, right? There's probably one more short out of that area. It was a decent area. Again, it had a great punch out of it the first time. This time, again, very decent push. And again, sellers step in again. So it's probably good for one more. All right, so if we get back up into that area, depending on the time, depending on what news is coming out, again, depending on what markets are open, whether it's the Asian market, the European market, or the U.S. market, there's probably another trade setup in there. Again, just kind of keep that on your radar as far as things that could work. And again, it's about pairing the right duration, or whether it be a binary, a call spread, or a knockout. It's about finding the right one at the time when it hits it. So I can't really give you which one is going to be best, but unfortunately, there's not a knockout up there right now that makes sense. So it's probably going to be a 2-hour binary. Okay. Euro yen. Euro yen is just exploding. Now, the one nice thing about the euro yen is the fact that it finally broke through the top side. So we had this one paired off, right? Last week we said, hey, listen, we'd love for this to get up to the 123.75. We'd love it to come down to 121. It's just got to get out of this channel here, right? We did have a potential Harry Potter set up, and unfortunately, it never triggered. We got a spike through, but immediately pulled back. We never got the basing that we were looking for. So it's still there. I mean, you guys can see it down here. It's on the 30-minute, right? It's still sitting down here. And again, you can see it punched in, punched out. Did not give us the space, the basing in the zone. So we never got an entry on it. So what I'm going to do is to clean the chart up, we're going to delete this. And I'll take this off. And we will just continue to move this one across. On the hourly. Yeah, it's on the hourly. We'll just continue to move the cross. This will come back into play at one point. It's just not there right now. So where we are right now, again, you can see we've kind of bounced sideways. It's a nice push forward. I think this needs to go a little bit farther, right? Part of the problem was once it got to this level, we knew that we had some sellers sitting in here. It's just where they were coming in at, right? There was a level up here, and right here, I'll just do it this way. Here is where we know, again, basing, strong drop, hit, punched, and drop through. That's kind of where we're having the same problems right now, right? We came back up, we based sideways in that same level. So for me, it was not necessarily a place to get short yet, but I think we're pretty close. I'm thinking probably here is what I'm looking for on this one, approximately 124.16. Again, what did it do? It came up, it based, there's a wick over wick right here, and then bam, it just slammed hard, right? Drop, boom, drop, right from that level. So I think that's where our next part, entry is probably going to be in this one. I don't know why I can't get rid of this line. There we go. I can delete that line now. I don't need this either. All right. So for me, 124.16. Let me look over at the knockouts on that one. Nope, that would be a binary. I was like, wait, these don't match up. That's because that was a binary, Brian. Let's see. 124.16 is where it is. There is a 124.37, which is not bad on that one either. And look at that. The top of that zone is sitting there right at 124.31. So there's a potential trade set up in this one as well. Knockout number 2 for those of you on the old platform. For those of you that are not, 124.37 would be the one that you are looking for. And again, when it gets to that level, that's where you want to, determine whether or not the risk makes sense. This zone is not very big. It's only about 14 pips. So again, decent zone on the hourly. If we can get up there, again, what do we have tomorrow morning at the European Open? We have the ECB president speaking. So could the ECB president provide some type of language that is weak for the European currency? The answer is yes. Could he say something about keeping interest rates, more quantitative easing? All those words weaken the currency. Could that be a turnaround point? Sure, absolutely. He's the guy, trust me, he's the guy that can turn it around, and we'd be looking at something along those lines. If it even takes that long, we may be able to get into this even before that, okay? But again, that's one of those catalysts that I talk about with news. Great setup, right? All right, pound yen. As you can see, pound yen has kind of been whipsawing back and forth. We've had a level up here. I think this is actually based off a 4-hour. Yeah, it's based off a 4-hour level here, kind of chopping back and forth. Strong momentum in. This is one of those ones that it's been kind of, we've been 2/3 of the way to profit, and it has kind of kicked back again and kind of gone sideways. For me at this point, it's kind of like, it's there. Again, we're waiting for any type of Brexit news. So everybody's kind of like hinged on, what's next? Is it good? Is it bad? What, and again, the media is kind of having their way with it. I do think there are still, again, I am bearish focused this one right now. I'm not in a live position on this one, but I do think that this one will come back down, and I'm looking forward to probably roll back into profit-wise, probably back into here 134.55. I think is when we need to take it off. Right now, it's consolidating in. This will have some movement tomorrow morning as well with the European Open and that speech, because again, they're going to mention Brexit one way or the other. Okay. Pound dollar, again, we were looking for a Harry Potter break of this level. Unfortunately, it just skyrocketed all the way through. We weren't unable to get it. But based off that same hourly level, there was a zone sitting here. Again, we had a spike in the last couple of hours where literally came up, grabbed it, and then collapsed back down again. So it was a very, very fast trade. If you guys were able to make it, again, not a level we're interested in taking longs off of at this point. We were looking for kind of a long on the pullback, but the trade's already completed at this point. I would say it's more in kind of a downward pattern again. Ideally on this one, again, on an hourly or on a 4-hour, we're kind of stuck in the middle. I'll delete these things off the middle just to kind of clean it up a little bit, right? You can see right now, again, 129.79 I think is a great place for shorts. 126.59 is a great place for longs. We're kind of in no man's land, smack in the middle. And again, I'll take this and use it here. You can see what's happening in this area. Came down, punched, and again, there was a Harry Potter on the 4-hour. Now it's basing and kind of just stuck inside of that same zone. So I'd like it to be top or bottom. It's just higher probability when it's either of those two areas. Euro pound. All right, so Euro pound, again, we have a Harry Potter on, but also another potential short up at 91.58. The Harry Potter, this is, again, I mention this every time we set these up. What happens if it hits that zone and bounces? Is it bad? No, it's not bad. We're still ready to take that position when it breaks, because eventually it will break. But again, no harm, no foul. We didn't get into a trade. We know that it's one more hit. We know that it drove pretty deep. We know that the next time it comes through, it is an even higher probability to go through and break. So again, leaving this down here, and again, this would be a break of approximately 90.31. Top side, again, I needed this to go a little bit higher. I actually had some alerts set in here about 91.55. I do think that is a great rollover point. I do think that that speech tomorrow is going to provide European negativity. So kind of the same thinking on this one, that there is probably an interesting short late night. I'm going to check this before I go to bed. I'm not going to wake up for the European Open to take it. But that is around 91.55. There is unfortunately, there is no knockout. I guess the closest knockout is 91.61. So it's super close. Like 91.61 is right here. it's in the middle of the zone, so it's going to be a close call, right? It's going to be close, but there is actually a knockout that lines up to this one. And again, if we can get up there before they speak, could be a potential short in this one. And again, using whether a knockout or a 2-hour binary could also be great, depending. Again, you gotta see what's available at the time when we hit off that zone. Okay, if it's a later on today thing, we may get the reaction before the news in the morning. All right, but again, another potential setup here as we approach this 91.56. Euro dollar. So euro dollar, we had a small zone. You can see we based in it, right? So we had this little zone here. We had a Harry Potter setup from last week. We were unable to break through. And again, I'm just leaving it here. I'm remaining patient. But a break of 116.03, I'm targeting them down to 115.59. We had a zone here, and again, it wasn't the cleanest. I mean, it pushed it to the brink, and you can see we hit it here and then bounced back down and then kind of pulled back up again. It is kind of in, I'll leave the top on, but it is kind of in like a Harry Potter setup formation right now. The problem with this one is, while we do have the room to the top side to run, it's not going to make the full 1 to 3 profit target, and that always concerns me a little bit. As well as, yeah, it gave us the space, but unfortunately, it formed a base very, very fast, and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, it's really not the kind of the correct things we'd like to see with a Harry Potter trade. It is there, again, you could have gotten long on this one. It is only 13 pips risk. It is very small, but at this point, once we get into the kind of the afternoon time frame, things start to dry up a little bit, right? For lack of a better word. I do think that we have this zone up here. Again, that zone is coming in at approximately 117.52. You guys can see that the movement off of this zone was pretty strong. We dropped, we kind of pulled down, pulled back up again, and then it just got hammered down. This in 3 candles was about 70 pips in 3 hours. That's a big move in such a short period of time. So there had to be some sellers powering this to the downside. I do believe at 117.52, there's an area coming in there, and we do have a knockout at 117.77, which is right here, which is right on the other side. So if we get a failure to go higher in here, a punch forward, a pullback, and then we kind of a new failed high, there's a knockout bracket sitting there for the euro dollar, ceiling at 117.77. All right, again, a little bit higher, which is fine because the selling's over here. But again, depending on when we hit that area, there is a potential knockout trade in that position. Now, dollar CAD literally bounced back and forth. We had an area here we talked about hitting, and again, it hit it. It kind of meandered sideways. It kind of hit it again, finally went down, kind of came over, and it's just kind of basing. Now, we're in that level again. It's kind of set up for the same type of a short. There was a very emotional response to this one. The reason why you're seeing this move so much is oil. Again, oil is pulling back a little bit right now. It's only down 4.65% right now versus the 5 it was. So again, we're seeing kind of oil and the CAD kind of kick back a bit. I do think that this will probably come down. I don't see anything that really justifies it, but I would say, is it the best of shorts? No. Is it one that's decent? It's not bad, right? But I would look to have my target taken, maybe even in here, but we're probably good down in the 133.66 area. Dollar CAD, let's see, 104, 134.02. No, I mean, it's 130.18. We're about 20 pips off on this one. So CAD was a little bit off on the knockouts, unfortunately. Not the best of it's just the placement was off. That's all it is. So again, it's a little bit higher on this one. So while I'm bearish on this one, I don't know that I have a great setup. Tomorrow with oil, this one probably will move. Again, there's a number of different CAD numbers this week as well. Just make sure if you're trading the dollar CAD, make sure that there's not a Canadian news release and a dollar news release all at the same time, because you're just not going to be able to, do much with that one. Dollar Swiss has a setup that's about to trigger. We're looking for this one to come down and break 91.89. We need a basing in there, and that's kind of the telltale sign, like, hey, listen, we're ready to go on this one. This one is rather small, though. It's only about a 10 pip risk, meaning we're looking to take a 30 pip profit on the back side. It's not bad, right? It's there. It's a decent level. Again, looking for it to break. If you know how to set alerts, again, set an alert probably down in here at about 91.85-ish, maybe 91.85-ish would be a nice way to kind of get an alert and look for kind of an entry on that one. Dollar yen, not as interested in dollar yen, unfortunately. Whoops. Dollar yen has been chopping through this level. Again, I wouldn't be using that as for a sell. There is a level just slightly higher that I do think we will get a decent bounce off of, and that's 105.75. Do have a Harry Potter set up. You guys can see the 105.19. Looking forward to push that low. Not there yet, but again, I think we can get down there with profit targets down at 105.01. So not a very big mover. This would be something, again, a 2-hour binary would probably be ideal, but right now I'm looking more for this to kind of roll and flip off 105.75. Gold. So gold is up in an area right now. Here's an area that we had mentioned in the past. We're kind of punching, and this is one of those things. It hit the level, pulled back. It hit the level, pulled back again. Whenever you, in quick succession, hit a level that many times, you know that there are buyers behind it. Okay, so although this is originally may have been a short, you could have taken this one and been at almost 3-1 for the shorts. Again, it's not something we want to keep taking, right? Here would have been your level, and you can see that based off the hit here, you were 2.5-1, right? So again, you don't want to keep banging your head on this one. I think at this point, I think it's safe to say that this is a better trade setup in my eyes. The risk to reward at this point would be better. And again, a little higher up on the curve, the reaction off of this zone was really, really nice. And we could use this as kind of a potential target / Harry Potter, but I'd say right now, again, just to keep it clean, I think 1901 is probably the ideal place for this one. There is a knockout at 1902, right? So again, this is at 195. There is a knockout bracket that starts right around that same level. So depending on when this hits, again, this is a PMI more based number. The unemployment data will affect this one as well. So again, if we get a rally up, we'll look for some type of a rollover in that area. I think that's decent. Silver. Here's your Harry Potter right there. Again, silver punched through, pulled back, and now is rallying up. We're about to hit the 1 to 3. So this is a level as well. This is kind of textbook, right? Level formed. Here's your 1 hit. There's your 2 hit. There was your 3 hit. Number 4 is what punched through finally. It came up to there. It came back down again. And right now it is just about there right here. So you can see the up, the down, and the punch up. Now this one actually came down a second time, which always scares people. You're like, oh God. But you can see we're really, really close to that target coming up. So what do we do with silver? Silver is one of those ones that it's just following gold. I think on the hourly, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. This piece right here, this punch down, pull up, and base, and the way that this kind of has rallied back to, pushed down, and we've rallied back up to it, I think that's a decent level for a short. Now, it does matter what time of day we hit it. Again, if it's coinciding with news, I think that is a decent time to take advantage of it. But I think 24.96 would be an area that I'm pretty interested in taking a short out of. Again, reason why is we had a great base, a nice rally, a nice base, and a nice kind of hammering down. And it does kind of put us right in the middle of that range. So, again, time of day matters. A US-based news release, European Open, US Open, any of those things are ideal times for us to be at that level, as well as tonight. Chinese data could also be one of those times that, again, if it is negative, silver will most likely take a negative turn because, again, silver also has some industrial usage as well. Okay. All right. It's funny. Here's CAD yen. We don't trade CAD yen on Nadex, but here's CAD yen, and again, based off of exactly what oil does. But let me drag oil in. Where is it? Full feature chart. Oof, look at this one. This thing is moving. All right, so here is the levels that we had last week. Again, we had this kind of top and bottom here. We mentioned this was a level that we saw buyers step into. Actually, it's here, right? You guys can see here. And we mentioned any type of shorts, we'd be looking to take profit in this area, right? Buyers have stepped in. The last time we had a punch down to this level, right? To here, again, we kind of rallied off of it. So this was a level we were looking to get out. As you can see, top-wise, we had kind of mentioned that this zone up here, right? The 40.35 to the 40.55 area had been an area where, again, sellers stepped in and hammered this thing down. It drove back up again, hammered down. Was able to punch through, but again, didn't stay long, hammered down. Punched in, pushed. Punched in, pushed. Formed the basing here, punched up, pushed, punched in, pushed, based, and now has just gone completely the opposite side. So I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that, I'm looking. I've looked for news releases. I don't really see anything to me that says, hey, listen, oil, there's a justified $2 drop in oil in 6 hours. Not exactly sure what caused this. The only thing I can think of is something with the debate, maybe, or maybe the dollar. I don't know. I don't see anything news-wise that would justify this. Minus, and I say minus, the overall market positioning itself for oil inventory tomorrow. Okay, that's about the only thing now. Typically, when we see a spike like this in oil, like not a spike down, but when we see a spike up in oil, it has something to do with like one person invading another country, right? Or something happened in the Middle East. I just don't see anything. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm missing out on something here. I just don't really see anything in there. So again, a lot of movement with no real substantial kind of backing behind it leads me to believe that we're going to have some bit of a retracement. While it's down 5 today, maybe it's up 5 tomorrow. Maybe this is the bottom. And again, last time we were down here, buyers stepped in. If you look at the level right here, I'll move this lever over, right? This was an area where we had basing, and then we punched forward. If we use that same level and we bring it across, you can see exactly what we ran into, right? Here's where we base, right? Punched in, base, boom, popped. That's exactly what we're sitting at. So again, if we get a retracement on this one, I really wouldn't be surprised to the top side. Again, a couple ways you can play this one. Let's see, crude oil. Again, I don't really trade crude oil knockouts. I haven't advanced that far with all the new ones. But it looks like this level kicked in here at what, 38.49. Yeah, it looks like the closest floor is at 37.75, which is down in here. So not ideal setup for a knockout, but yeah, this has just been an absolute collapse today. And again, there's definitely been things breaking. I can't see where the top is, but 40.37 right up here. Yeah, there's a 40.75 up top sitting right in here. So again, this is an amazing knockout, guys. There's one sitting right here. I'll mark it off. Right here at 40.75, and it goes down to 35.75, which is all the way down here. And it's even lower than this. It's 35.75. So there is where we started today with knockout number 6. And look how far that one moved. So again, this is kind of why the power of knockouts is so great. You can have a lot of movement and things moving, and it's still rolling, and there's still 3 days left. Now, will it continue to push down? I may be a bit cautious because, again, buyers have stepped in here in the past, but that's a heck of a lot of movement. $2+ to the downside off a knockout from this morning. And that kicked in 4 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So again, pretty big movement. Again, that's why I'm pretty excited about these knockouts. All right, with that said, let me see. Do you offer trading or signal service? David, no, I don't do signal services. I obviously do trainings, yep. But I don't do signal services. To know what time level you're using here. Sure. Dennis, great question. So just so everybody's on the same page, all the analysis that I do here, typically you'll see it in the background, right? In the background is what you'll see. Most of the analysis that I do for these Nadex sessions, I do on the 30-minute chart. And I will typically go higher and use 4-hour levels as well. The reason why is my belief that 4-hour levels are some of the best levels that exist, okay? They're not based off daily. Again, a daily level has downfalls that, the markets will close. They can reset contracts and things like that. 4-hour charts tend not to have that. It's not as impactful a lot of times. So for me, I love 4 hours, and that's what I'm using to base my trend and curve off of, okay? Trend is basically, you guys know what trend is. Curve for me is kind of where I'm getting in, when I drew that picture, right? Where I drew this picture over here, and then I said, hey, listen, I'm looking to sell up here, and I'm looking to buy down here, right? This is the curve, okay? And again, what that does is it provides a bullish and a bearish bias for me. I do that off the 4-hour. But as far as looking for levels and turning points and Harry Potter trade setups and defining my risk level, I am typically using 30 minutes. And here's why. And again, this may be your golden nugget for the day. If it is, I hope it is. Right now in the markets, when you look at, when I looked at that, Forex Factory chart earlier today, right? The scanner, when we looked at this, you can see that, look, the pound in the last 24 hours, it's only moved 2 pips. But is that really the case? I can go over here and, on an hourly basis, you can say, okay, well, maybe, but I know, right? If we're sitting here right now, this is where we were at this time yesterday. So yeah, it's only moved a little bit, but it did move about 40 pips down. It did move 45 pips above, and from top to bottom, it's moved 90 pips. But where are we in 24 hours? We're 4 pips difference. So for me, the way that I'm looking at the market right now, I truly believe that this is a day trader's market right now, not a swing or like a holding multiple day type thing. Because again, it's moved 5 pips in 24 hours, but it has moved 90 pips from top to bottom in that same 24. So again, I use the 30 minutes for levels, for defining levels, as well as risk. So hopefully that helps. All right. So guys, with that said, that brings us to the end. Make sure you guys mark off your calendars for next week, October 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Again, we'll be talking about Halloween and all that kind of stuff in the blink of an eye. Now, if you guys do have other questions for me that I wasn't able to answer today, these are the ways to get in touch with me. Go ahead and screenshot it, keeptradingsimple.com. You can see what my classes are. I guess, David, you would ask, do I have classes? You're more than welcome to check those out. You can check me out on YouTube. I actually need to change this slide. I don't broadcast anymore at 9 p.m. Eastern. I do 9 p.m. I do 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do broadcasts in the morning as well. And if you have questions about something I said, you can always use the old-fashioned email support at keeptradingsimple.com. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Good luck this week. Like I said, a lot of opportunity, and I hope to catch everybody next week. Take care.